Wait, before you touch that brush again, I need to stop you. If your hair feels thinner than it used to, and you've been fighting it with more products, more teasing, and more hairspray, I have to tell you something uncomfortable. You're not fighting thin hair. You're fighting it wrong. And every single morning you keep doing it the old way, you're actually making your hair look thinner, not fuller. There's a reason your hair looked amazing in your 30s with barely any effort, and it wasn't because you had more hair back then, it's because the way you styled it worked with your hair's natural weight and movement. Somewhere along the way, most of us kept using the same tricks our hair has completely outgrown. Today I'm giving you 4 incredibly simple steps that flip everything you think you know about styling thin hair. No expensive treatments, no miracle products, just a completely different approach that salon professionals use but rarely explain out loud. Stick around, because step 2 alone changes everything, and step 4 is the one almost nobody talks about. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to Ageless Style Secrets, the channel where we prove every single week that looking incredible after 60 doesn't require a big budget or a complicated routine, just the right knowledge. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad this video found you, because today's topic is one of the most requested ones we've ever gotten. And to our regulars, hello again, my friends. You already know we don't do fluff here, just real, useful tips you can actually use the moment this video ends. Before we jump into the 4 steps, do me a quick favor. Tap that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, because we release videos like this every single week, made specifically to help you look and feel your absolute best without spending a fortune doing it. It takes 2 seconds, but it means the world to this channel. Okay, let's get into it. Why most thin hair advice fails. Let's start with something that might sting a little, but stay with me because it turns into good news very quickly. Most of the advice floating around out there for thin hair was written for hair that is simply fine in texture, not hair that has genuinely thinned out with age. That is a completely different problem, and treating it the same way is exactly why so many women feel like nothing works anymore. Fine hair just needs lightweight products. Thinning hair needs strategy. It needs a completely different relationship with gravity, with product placement, with tools, and honestly, with the haircut itself. When you understand that distinction, everything else on this list is going to click into place, and you are going to look back and realize you were never doing anything wrong, you were just following instructions meant for someone else's hair. There is also an emotional side to this that we do not talk about enough. For a lot of women, noticing your hair thinning feels like losing a small piece of yourself, especially when it happens gradually enough that you almost cannot pinpoint when it started. I want you to know something before we even get into the steps. This is not about fixing something broken. Your hair is not broken. It is simply asking for a different approach than the one you have been giving it, and once you make that shift, most women tell us the change feels less like styling and more like finally being seen the way they actually want to be seen. So let's fix that today, one simple step at a time. Step number 1, stop brushing your hair downward. Here is where most morning routines go wrong before they even really begin. If you brush your hair straight down from root to tip the moment you get out of the shower, you are training your hair to lay completely flat against your scalp, and once it dries that way, there is very little you can do to bring the volume back for the rest of the day. Here is the fix, and it genuinely takes the same amount of time as what you are already doing. When your hair is damp, flip your head upside down and gently rough dry the roots first with your fingers, not a brush. You are not trying to create a full style yet, you are simply teaching the roots to dry standing up rather than lying flat. Once the roots are about 70% dry, flip your head back up and finish styling as usual. This one adjustment alone can visibly change how full your hair looks by the time you walk out the door, and it costs you absolutely nothing extra. No new products, no new tools, just a different order of operations. A quick note here, if flipping upside down feels uncomfortable on your neck or back, you can get almost the same effect by simply lifting sections at the root with your fingers while blow drying at a slight angle, pointing the airflow toward the roots rather than straight down onto them. The goal is always the same, dry the roots lifted, not flattened. There is one more small detail that makes a bigger difference than people expect, and that is the direction of the airflow itself. Most of us instinctively point the dryer straight down the hair shaft because that is what smooths hair and reduces frizz, and that habit works beautifully for thicker hair. But for thinning hair, that same downward airflow presses the cuticle flat against the scalp in exactly the way we are trying to avoid. Try angling the nozzle so the air is moving against the direction of growth at the root, even just for the first minute or two of drying. It feels a little unusual at first, but it is doing exactly what you want, encouraging the hair to stand away from the scalp rather than lie down against it. Step number 2, change where you put your product, not how much. This is the one I promised would change everything, and I mean that. Most women with thinning hair make the completely understandable mistake of applying volumizing product exactly where they apply everything else, all over, from root to tip, the same way they have done for decades. But here is the problem. Product weighs hair down. Every single time. Even the lightest volumizing mousse or spray still has weight, and when that product coats the entire strand from root to end, it actually presses fine, thinning hair down rather than lifting it up. It is doing the opposite of its job simply because of where it landed. The fix is refreshingly simple. Apply your volumizing product only at the root, directly where hair meets scalp, using your fingertips to work it in rather than running it through the full length. Think of it less like a product you apply to your hair and more like a product you apply to your scalp that happens to lift the hair sitting on top of it. If you still want a bit of texture or shine through the mid-lengths and ends, use a completely separate, lightweight product just for that area, applied sparingly. 2 light layers in the right places will always outperform 1 heavy layer everywhere. This single change, root-only application, is honestly the difference most women are searching for without knowing it has a name. It is not about buying a better product. It is about respecting where the weight of any product actually lands. And while we are on the subject of product, let's clear up one more myth that keeps a lot of women stuck. More product does not mean more volume. In fact, it is almost always the opposite. A small amount of the right product, placed precisely at the root, will consistently outperform a generous amount applied everywhere, because the moment that product travels down the length of the strand, it starts pulling the hair toward the scalp instead of away from it. If you find yourself reaching for a second or third pump because the first one did not seem to do much, pause and check where you are actually placing it before assuming the product itself is the problem. Alright, quick pause, because I want to hear from you. Which one of these 2 steps do you think you have been doing wrong this whole time, the drying direction or the product placement? Type it in the comments below, 1 or 2. I read every single comment and I am genuinely curious how many of us have been making the exact same mistake for years without realizing it. And if this video is already teaching you something useful, tap that like button right now. It truly helps this reach more women who need to hear it today. If you have not subscribed yet, now is a great time, because we have 2 more steps coming up, and step 4 might be the most important one on this entire list. Let's keep going. Step 3. Swap your tools for ones that match your hair's actual density. This step surprises a lot of people, because it has nothing to do with technique and everything to do with the tools sitting in your drawer right now. Many of us have been using the same large, heavy round brushes and thick bristled paddle brushes for years, tools that were genuinely great for thicker hair, but work against thinning hair almost every time. A large, heavy brush requires more tension and more heat to create movement, and both of those things add stress to strands that are already more fragile than they used to be. On top of that, bigger brushes tend to smooth hair down rather than lift it, which is the exact opposite of what we are going for. Here is the fix. Switch to a smaller diameter round brush, something closer to 1 inch rather than 2 or 3 inches, paired with a lower heat setting on your dryer or styling tool. The smaller brush allows you to create tighter, more controlled lift at the root with far less tension pulling the hair flat. It is a small swap in your bathroom drawer, but it makes a genuinely noticeable difference in the final result. If brushing at all feels like too much effort some mornings, foam or Velcro rollers set at the crown for just 5 to 10 minutes while you finish your coffee can give you the same lifted result with almost no technique required at all. Sometimes the simplest tool wins. One more tool worth mentioning here is heat itself. High heat does not create more volume, it simply creates more damage over time, and damaged strands actually lie flatter and look thinner in the long run. A medium heat setting, held slightly longer at the root section, will give you a more lasting lift than a blast of high heat that dries the surface quickly but does very little for the actual shape underneath. Patience at a lower temperature genuinely beats speed at a high one here. Step 4. Ask for the right length, not just the right layers. And now, the step almost nobody talks about, the one that ties everything else together. You can master the drying technique, the product placement, and the right tools, and still feel like something is missing if the haircut underneath it all is working against you. Here is the truth most stylists will not say out loud unless you ask directly. Hair that is too long, past a certain point, has its own weight, and that weight alone can flatten thinning hair no matter what you do to it afterward. It is not about how many layers are cut into it, it is about the overall length pulling everything downward before you even pick up a brush. For most women dealing with thinning hair, a medium length landing somewhere between the chin and the shoulders tends to strike the perfect balance. It is long enough to still feel feminine and versatile, but short enough that gravity is not working against every single thing you are trying to do at the root. When you go in for your next cut, do not just ask for layers. Ask your stylist specifically to remove weight from the ends while keeping length at the crown and top of the head. This creates a shape that supports volume rather than one that simply has movement without any actual lift. The right length paired with the right internal shaping does more for the appearance of fullness than nearly any product on the market ever could. It is also worth mentioning color here, briefly, because it plays a bigger role than most people expect. A single, flat, uniform color tends to make thinning areas more visible, since there is no variation in tone to create the illusion of depth. Soft, subtle dimension, a few shades lighter or darker woven through, particularly around the crown and part line, can visually trick the eye into perceiving more fullness than is actually there. You do not need a dramatic color change for this to work. Even a gentle baby light technique around the most visible areas can make a meaningful difference in how full your hair reads in photos and in person. Let's bring it all together quickly. Step 1. Dry your roots lifted, not flat, by working with your fingers before you ever pick up a brush, and remember that airflow direction matters just as much as the flip itself. Step 2. Apply volumizing product only at the root, not through the full length of your hair, and resist the urge to add more when a little precisely placed will always do more work. Step 3. Swap to a smaller round brush or try rollers to reduce tension and increase lift with far less effort, and keep your heat moderate rather than maxed out. And step 4. Ask for a length and internal shape that actually supports volume instead of fighting against it every single day, and consider whether a touch of soft dimension in your color could help create the illusion of even more fullness. None of these steps require a new budget, a dramatic transformation, or hours of extra time in the morning. They simply require doing what you are already doing, just in the right order, in the right place, with the right tools. That is the real secret behind hair that looks fuller, younger, and more alive, not more product, just smarter placement. Give yourself a full week of trying all 4 together before judging the results, because small adjustments like these tend to compound, and most women notice the biggest difference not on day 1, but by day 5 or 6, once the new habits start to feel natural rather than deliberate. Before you go, I want to know something. Out of these 4 steps, which one are you trying first tomorrow morning? Type the number in the comments below, 1, 2, 3, or 4. I genuinely love seeing which tip resonates most with each of you, and your answer might be exactly what convinces someone else scrolling through the comments to finally try it too. While you are down there, go ahead and tap that like button. It takes 2 seconds, but it tells YouTube to put this video in front of more women who are dealing with the exact same thing you were dealing with before you clicked play today. And if you have not subscribed yet, this is your sign. We are building a real community here at Ageless Style Secrets, one built on simple, honest advice that actually respects your time and your budget. Hit subscribe, tap that bell so you catch every new video the moment it goes live, and if you know a friend or a sister who has been quietly struggling with the exact same thing, send this video her way. She will thank you for it. One last thought before you go. If you try even one of these 4 steps tomorrow morning and you notice a difference, however small, that is worth celebrating. Real, lasting change rarely comes from one dramatic overhaul. It comes from small, consistent adjustments made in the right places, over and over, until they simply become how you do things. That is exactly what today's video was really about. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I will see you in the very next video. Until then, remember, your hair is not working against you, it just needed the right instructions, and now you have them.